Yo, I'm gonna mess with a little tuning on my car today. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around this Honda stuff. I know enough right now to be dangerous. I know plenty enough about normal cars with regular programming. I took this thing to Oklahoma and I had Alex at Humble Performance do the tune on it, and I got some issues that I'm trying to straighten out. I'm probably going to take it somewhere to get another tune. I got a feeling I know where to go. This thing actually runs great. I mean, it opens up real nice. It's got a lot of power. When he tuned it, he said it was 25 pounds of boost and 405 horse, but for some reason it's not getting over 21 psi. I think he might have detuned it a little bit after he got done with it, or it's because there's not enough E85 in it or something, because the way he's got the boost control on this, the blend boost with flex fuel is off, and he tuned it in such a way that he just progressively put a higher ethanol content in it, so he doesn't do that blending like, I don't know, that's what the first guy did. He did the blend boost with flex fuel thing. When it gets more ethanol, the boost values go up unless it goes down, and it changes the timing too. It's kind of a cool way to do it. He says a blend boost with flex fuel he's had problems with, so he progressively tuned it like 4 different times, and for that it works really well. I had one issue with it though. When I brought it back home, I noticed that the top of my wastegate was loose and it wasn't holding vacuum at all, and I think he kind of made it work with it like that, obviously, and I should have had it fixed before I showed up there, because for some reason my boost gauge fluctuates a lot in some other gears, and I don't know if that's the tune or if it's the car and the Chinese eBay parts or what. So I tightened up the wastegate. I moved some wastegate lines, and I'm going to have another tuner look at it just to see what he can see. Another problem I've had with this is the fuel injectors. The dead times on it, I got 1000cc fuel injectors. They're like Ford. They say Ford FIC 1000. They're Bosch EV14 injectors. They're probably for like a Ford GT500 or something. I don't know. But I told him what I had, and he just picked this Deathworks 1000cc out of this quick set injector voltage comp dead time quick select chart. He just threw that on there, and then he did the tune, and I got a problem with that. The gear composition, this is probably the gear ratios he's got in some drag car or something, so that was wrong, and I had to set that up. There's a few little issues that I want to touch up and just kind of make it work right. He left the closed loop disabled. It's in open loop only, and I have problems with this. I have AC in the car, and he turned the AC off because it's hooked up for some generic output. So when I got the car home, I tried to turn on my AC and it didn't work. And I spent like an hour and a half trying to diagnose my AC to figure out that it's all programming in Honda. I didn't even know Honda could turn the thing off. So I had to disable that to get my air conditioning to work. So I'm just going to turn this on right now. I'm going to upload it, so it should be disabled. And then another problem I have is when I start this thing when it's cold, it starts right up when it's cold. I can hear it missing right now. It's got like a little miss here and there. It actually idles like total crap right now. And there's my fuel trim when it's cold. 18, 19. So there's no wonder why it's missing when it's cold. It's missing like crazy right now. It's super lean. It's just terrible. I'm going gonna get it to warm up, and then I'm gonna show you some other fun stuff with this humble tune. My long-term fuel trim when it's cold is at 17%, so it should be adding more fuel, but it's obviously not enough. So that's a big issue. I think he just threw that on there somehow. I don't know how these fuel tables work on this thing. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it. I know, like on a normal car, your long-term fuel trim is block learn, and there's a series of different blocks that go anywhere from a number to 1 to 32. So there's like 32 different blocks on a normal newer car, and it just picks one to make sure that the long-term and the short-term fuel trim is good. But I'm pretty sure with Honda, with the S300s, there's no real long-term fuel trim block learn. I think you just program one block, and that's kind of all you get. I'm not sure about that though, so I don't know. I'm gonna let this warm up. Okay, I got it warmed up, and yeah, I don't know. My fuel trim went up a little bit at an idle, not much. I give it gas, and it's kind of fine. Kind of. When I go wide open throttle, it's good. It's really good at wide open throttle. Got it at 185.5. And here's a really bad part. Now that I got my AC hooked up, I turn it on. I just turned my fan on. Look at that. With my AC. Super lean. It's total crap. Even when I'm buzzing down the highway at a couple thousand RPMs, it's still at like, yeah, 16, 6, 15 until I turn off the AC. I don't know. It's total crap. Pretty much all I got to do is pull up on my door windows, my power windows, and it drops out. So he should have known there was a problem here. Anyways, I went in and I went to closed loop parameters. He says he's got problems with closed loop and he doesn't like to use it. For drag racing, I guess it's better because you're just commanding the thing to do stuff and you're not wasting time for the computer to figure out what to do or whatever. But I'm going to go to closed loop wideband lambda target. I'm going to upload that. So now it's working off of my wideband. My short-term fuel trim immediately changed to 17%, and it's a little better. It should move up a little more. So I did that, and I drove it around like that for a while, and there's still a problem because I turn on my AC, and it's not as bad, but it's still pretty damn bad. Once I get cruising, it kind of richens up real good because my wideband's kind of making up for it. It's really kind of goof though. See, it's a little better now. Kind of. So anyways, I went in, I started screwing around with my dead times because they're wrong for these injectors and he didn't do any of this. So like there's a couple of values that I changed on here. I think these two I changed. So what I did here is I went back in and I changed this back to closed loop disabled and then uploaded that. And then in my fuel injectors, I moved some dead time voltages around and I started using powers to see where my voltages were, to see where I needed to put my dead times. And this 10.11 and under, I really don't need to mess with that because you got to be using like every accessory on the car at idle to make it that voltage, and it seemed pretty good there. So I changed those dead time numbers. I richened it up a little bit. Now I can start this back up. Now my AFR numbers are a little better at idle. It's a little richer at wide open throttle. I can pull up on my windows, and that's all the drop I get. It doesn't go super lean anymore. I can turn on my air conditioner, and that's the numbers I get. So it's pretty good. So I'm thinking the guy just basically gave me a quick and dirty tune and didn't even check my dead times and make sure that the voltages work with it. You know, it might have changed a little bit too, just from breaking in the engine, because it was a pretty new engine when I got it, and after driving it for a while, it might have needed a little more fuel. But I know for a fact that these dead times were off. Now I can disable this. I like using my wideband. I mean, it's just better, I think, for cruising around, you know, because it's not a drag car, and I'm not racing the thing. So I set my closed loop back to wideband input lambda target, and I uploaded it, and now it's great. It's doing what it's supposed to do. So another thing I did too is I had that fluctuation a lot with the boost gauge, and I didn't like that. And on my boost control, I set all these to 17. They were at like 21, and then they bounced down, probably to make sure I don't blow the damn thing up or something. But the reason why I set all of these to 17 is because I put an extra 3-pound spring in it, because my normal wastegate without my boost controller was opening up about 10 pounds. It'd spike up to 12. It actually opened up at about 9 and spiked up to 12. So I want my target boost is 24 psi. And a lot of people say that I want to go half of that number, and it felt like I could just get a little more boost out of it after I put these sticky tires on it in first gear anyways. So I added an extra 3 pounds thinking that it'll help stabilize my boost. So I'm definitely going to need a tune, because these numbers are all wrong. It says 17 and it goes to about 22 pounds right now. But I think I got it tweaked out pretty good right now. I changed my gear comp back to where it's supposed to be for an S40 transmission, and that's about it. He just did a couple of weird things that weren't right, and there's a couple other things that happened when I was there too. It was just so quick and dirty. They were so busy, and it's like they didn't have time to get it right. So I don't know, I drove 1,100 miles for a quick and dirty tune, I guess. But anyways, I'm pretty happy with the way it's running right now, with the exception of the fact that I want to take it to a tuner and make sure that it's cool. Maybe he can tweak it and get my 25 pounds of boost back or something, I don't know, and just make sure it's okay. Because wide open throttle right now in closed loop it seems to be at about 11.3 to 1, which I think is pretty good, but I don't know. It probably moved my AFR numbers around at wide open throttle, just messing around with this thing. So yeah, I looked for vacuum leaks. I didn't find any. Another thing I did, I was I was reading on the VTEC website, they say that you don't want to use the pressure line from the turbo housing going to the wastegate. And I had it going to the bottom here because they say with the exhaust pulsating and the turbine spinning, it can make your wastegate flutter a lot. So I moved that vacuum line to the cold side charge pipe. I had this top vacuum line for the brake booster going to the boost controller, and I moved that too so I have the same source. I found a T that's for actually it's for coolant, so I know it's going to handle some good temperatures. But I tapped this. I originally had my intake air temp sender in this hole, and instead I drilled a separate hole for that, and there's an O-ring that's sealing it, and I took a nut and bolt and crushed it down so it's flat, so this O-ring seals. And then I just filed some little grooves in the sensor, so the zip ties, so I can hold it in with the zip ties. They won't fall off because of them little grooves that I have. You can see that. See how I did that? And then I just drilled and tapped this and ran the line going to the bottom of the wastegate, and then the other line is going to my boost controller. And apparently this line isn't supposed to be that long. Everybody's telling you it shouldn't be any longer than like 18 inches, but I can't imagine that wouldn't change it any more than maybe a millisecond having a little longer line. I can't imagine that it'd be much of a difference. I was thinking about moving the boost controller and like drilling and tapping holes in my bar so it's really close here, but I don't think I'm going to have to do any of that. I could zip tie it to that thing too if I really wanted to be really cheesy. So now I'm just, yeah, this top was kind of loose. So it was leaking when I had the other tune, and now I'm just hooking a vacuum gauge up to it and making sure that that diaphragm is not ripped and it's not leaking. So when I go get another tune, I know that this thing's going to be doing what it's supposed to be doing. And then while I'm at it, I might as well check this little bugger too, make sure that's good. And it is. It's holding. It's just fine. I think I got this squared away enough, so hopefully three's a charm. I'm going to go get a third tune and see what happens. I'm probably going to take a nice 5-hour road trip through Wisconsin. I'm not going to trailer it this time either. I'm driving it. I'm going to throw this out here too. My air-fuel ratio is bouncing around kind of 14:7 to 1, which apparently is perfect, but I always hear a little miss at an idle. So if that thing could get down to like 13:1 at an idle, it would sound like it's idling better anyways. Like my short term and long term is at 13, 15. I'm just going to kind of show you guys how I check for vacuum leaks. I want to look at that short term fuel trim where it's bouncing between 12 and 13. And then I just take I got brake cleaner here. It's just so long as it says something in English. Extremely flammable, that's what I want. Now I can hose this down, like if I think I got an intake leak somewhere, I can just put a little bit of this all around here, and I should be able to watch that fuel trim drop like a stone, and it really doesn't. And then, see, because basically what happens is I'm adding a flammable mix, so instead of the engine adding fuel, I just added fuel, so that number is going to go negative, that short-term number, because it's going to be subtracting fuel because I'm adding it. And then after the flammable mix that I put into the system gets sucked through the system and goes away, that short-term number, it's going to go from dropping like a stone to going up. And right now it's kind of stable. It's doing the same thing. So I can hose it down some more just for fun. Hose some stuff around here, hose some stuff around there. And that number's just kind of hanging out. It's fine. I'll show you what I mean. If you get anywhere close to the intake, I can put a little in here. See that short-term number? It just went to 0, -1, -2. It's sucking that flammable mix in. It's unlike a regular car though, because this has got to go through the intercooler and everything. So when you put it in the air cleaner, it takes a long time to run through all of that piping. And it's saturated my filter too, so it's got to suck all of that in too. But on a naturally aspirated car, it'll go down quick and it'll clean out and then it'll be done. Now I can give this a little gas. I can burn that through, and my short-term trim should start going up sooner or later. I don't know. I just kind of screwed with it though. It's not going up on me. It's probably going to take a long time for all of that flammable mix I put in it to run through now. So that was kind of dumb. Anyways, I know there's no leaks anywhere. It's just kind of hanging out at -11. It should just gradually go up to 0. The more that flammable mix goes away. And just like this too, if I think this is leaking, the blow-off valve, I can just squirt a little in here, and that should drop like a stone. And it's not dropping like a stone. It's just kind of hanging out. I'm going to open this up and blow all that through. Back to normal again. So yeah, I know I don't have any intake leaks at all, so I can't blame me and my awesome work. I put a different distributor in it too, and I reset the timing on it because my other one was leaking, and once in a while, just off of idle, it was kind of missing a little bit. So I put a different rotor on it because I didn't like the way that one looked, and a different distributor because I had this one laying around, and it seems to run pretty good. I put an Excel coil in it. After I put that coil in it too, I set the gap back up to like 28 thousandths of an inch, and at wide open throttle it started breaking up quite a bit, so I bumped the spark plug gap back down to 23. I haven't driven it yet, but hopefully it won't do that anymore. Another thing them wonderful humble guys did was this back bolt and this bolt right here was loose. They just tightened up the top bolt on me and left the rest go, and this bolt ran out. That's how I noticed it. It was gone after I drove it for about 1,000 miles, and this one was super loose and the distributor was flopping around in here. So they did some quick and dirty stuff there. They didn't give me my timing cover back, and I had to call them up and they mailed it back to me, and I asked them for some stickers, and I put them on my back windows for about 2 weeks, but everybody wanted to race me after that. They'd see my pretty sticker, and well, I didn't want to advertise for them after this anyways because I thought it was too quick and dirty. Yeah, another thing they did, the guy with the yellow canary, he was guiding me onto the lift and he wasn't watching what was going on, and he's like, yeah, come on, keep coming. He dented the crap out of my exhaust. I just put a hose clamp around it. If I didn't have this mount on my exhaust that I made, it probably would have broke my turbo. That wouldn't have surprised me if it did. I would know if my turbo actually cracked or anything from him not paying attention to what was going on. And there's no, I don't see any carbon deposits or anything on my turbo blanket. So thankfully my turbo is still in one piece. He was being quick and dirty too. Now that I set my dead times, I let it cool down a little bit, and that's the AFRs I have now when it's cold, which is a little better. Now it's up to operating temperature. I have my AC on, and that's my AFRs, which is perfect. 14.7. I can get all crazy too and turn on a bunch of accessories. I can turn on my wipers on high. I can turn on my headlights. I can turn on my rear defroster, which works just like everything else. Turn on my four-ways. Pull up on the windows. And there's my AFRs. It's wonderful. So I think my dead times are set right. Now I'm just gonna go get a third tune and give it a tweak, and hopefully this thing will be working real nice. I got a feeling I might have to put a different wastegate in it or something, but I don't know. I'll figure that out when I get there. I don't know when I'm gonna go there either. I don't even have anything scheduled yet, so I don't know when this is gonna happen. I'll do a video on it though. Hopefully it'll be my last one. Okay, bye.